Joining me now to dive even deeper into the Lakers' 5-0 start is Matt Catoni, our color commentator for our live Laker football coverage right here on Civic Center TV and 89.3 Lakes FM. Matt, quite the emphatic victory for WB last week with a similar timeline on the scoreboard as to week number 4 when they went to Lake Orion.
Yeah, very similar games in that they were trailing and they had to, that kind of gut check moment where they were able to come back. But what really stood out about this game was, it was kind of a game of keep away, and the Lakers in that fourth quarter were able to reestablish control after Birmingham Groves had the ball the entire second half.
Yeah, once again, the defense had reigned supreme in this game for both of these teams much throughout the first half. It was a battle of 3 and outs. It was a battle of turnovers. It was a battle of big stops, especially for West Bloomfield when it came to that front 7. Again, absolute domination against the Birmingham Groves Falcons.
Yeah, and really what stood out were 2 plays in the first half. That forced fumble after the long run, the second play of the drive, you force a fumble, and then Jamal Shakespeare tackle on that 4th down where it was about inches away from being a first down, but Shakespeare stood tall and just made sure that they did not pick up that first down.
Yeah, quiet game defensively for Jamal Shakespeare versus the recent weeks where he's been kind of a focal point at the 2nd and 3rd level for West Bloomfield. Very different case for someone who's been quietly effective through the first 4 weeks and had the most prolific game, especially in that fourth quarter. Will Espy, the senior safety and nickelback for West Bloomfield, stepped up big in that game and was one of the main reasons why West Bloomfield was able to finish the job on Friday night against the Falcons.
Yeah, one thing that you hear is one of the biggest strengths for a football player is short-term memory, and Will Espy demonstrated that this weekend. He fumbles the ball, kind of gives Birmingham Groves the opportunity to get back in the game. But just as quick as that happened, he put his foot back in the ground and kind of buried Birmingham Groves.
Yeah, he had a big stop in the fourth quarter. A 3rd down stop, had another 4th down stop. Both of those he was at least in on. One of those he was very much the key tackler that changed the game for West Bloomfield, set them up in an incredible field position, already up 12-7, where he then scored the final touchdown and 2-point conversion of the ball game to make it a ultimately 20-7 victory for the West Bloomfield Lakers. Offensively, couple of stars stand out. Jackson Carver continuing to be excellent for West Bloomfield at quarterback. 11 for 17 passing, 178 yards in this game in the air. No touchdowns for him this week, but he did about everything he could right, but besides throw for a passing touchdown. And then a lot of that goes credit to who's quietly become the stud receiver for this team this season in Willie Edwards.
Yeah, Willie Edwards had a phenomenal game, and you saw that Jackson Carver was almost making a point to get him the football in the first half. But really what stands out about Carver, it's not just his poise in the pocket, but just how quick he is to deliver the football, and that's something that is invaluable, a quick delivery.
Especially for a junior in his first season full-time starter for this team, coming off an injury year. You mentioned the short-term memory with Will Espy. His short-term memory, Jackson Carver, in this case, just as superb as is Will Espy's. He's able to make a bad play a couple plays back, and then a couple plays later, same situation, make something incredible happen. The way he was able to escape pressure multiple times from the Falcons' defensive front, turn that into a big play, make something happen at the very least. Very impressive on Friday night. And then Willie Edwards has statistically been the best receiver for West Bloomfield this season by a country mile. 3 out of 5 games, he's had at least 50 yards receiving, including another one of those last week against Birmingham Groves, where he had a huge first half and overall brought in 5 receptions on 8 targets for 85 yards, averaging 17 yards per reception. That's the one thing about these Lakers this season offensively, Matt. It's not only have they been able to get everybody involved, but it seems like when they do get their skill players to football, more times than not, those skill players are making big breaks offensively.
Yeah, and really what's been most impressive is this is the first time they've really kind of had to open up the passing game or lean down the passing game. For the better part of this season, they've been relying on the playmakers on the ground and haven't really had to show them that much. It was good to see this game that they have the capacity to really attack downfield and attack over the middle.
And as we get into the thick of this season, we're not the midseason. It's 5-0 for West Bloomfield. They only had 5 wins all of last season, and really that second half of the season and those big games early on. Rochester Adams, Birmingham Groves, games like Oxford also that could have gone either way and ended up being very lopsided at certain points that turned the game toward the Lakers' opponents, led to that 5-6 overall record, which includes a playoff loss. So they were 5-5 coming into that final playoff game, 5-4 in the regular season. West Bloomfield already on pace to, with one more win, surpass their overall regular season performance from a year ago and be in position to win the OAA Red in as soon as a couple of weeks when Clarkston comes to town. Matt, a lot of that comes down to players stepping up. That next man up mentality, it's one of the most prolific cliches in the game of football. Nobody examples of that better in 2025 than Tristan Hunter for West Bloomfield, who has been incredible on that defensive line as a complement and as an addition to guys like Tank Pittman and Jeremiah Benson. 4 sacks on the season, 26.5 tackles, 12.5 of those solo, and almost 10 quarterback pressures in just these 5 weeks.
Yeah, having a guy like Tristan Hunter, Gray, and Joel Davis being able to rotate in on that defensive front along with Tank Pittman and Jeremiah Benson, it really gives this Lakers front seven a lot of versatility and just tenacity at the line of scrimmage that allows them to take over games.
Yeah, also can be noted a guy like Ezekiel Davis, who it seems every time the ball pops out, maybe it's just a circumstance of where the ball is popping out on the field on any given play, but it seems whenever there's a offensive fumble for the Lakers' opponents, Ezekiel Davis is right there to scoop it up too. Right place, right time, right mentality. He gets after the football. Another quiet but very important, effective performer for the Lakers defensively. Matt, they're 5-0. They're looking like one of the best teams in the state right now. It seems this defense is virtually unstoppable, but they've got a really tough schedule going through the rest of this season. These next 2 weeks especially, going to Oxford this week, Friday, before they see Clarkston come to town on October 10th. The Lakers are not in a position to take their foot off the gas as they head into 2 really tough games against Northern Oakland County opponents in their OAA Red division.
Yeah, really, the OAA Red is in a class of its own. And again, Oxford, they've had their number for pretty much ever since 2020. Oxford's only been able to beat the Lakers once. So you'd like the Lakers to continue that dominance and continue to take care of business against Oxford. But really, you can't look ahead to that Clarkston game, even though that's really, in a way, almost the OAA Red title game. You can't look past Oxford this week.
Oxford, a 38-14 victory over West Bloomfield a year ago, a legacy game for Luke Johnson of the Wildcats, one of their all-time great running backs who, one of those long line of players who stepped up in the legendary number 42 for Big Blue. And when they go out there, look, Oxford's had a struggle of a season in the first few weeks, but now they're on the winning side of their record. They're 3-2 overall, and a couple things go differently in a couple of games. They could be in the driver's seat position. Even their recent game against Clarkston, a bona fide top 10 team in the state by every pundit's standard. It was a 17-38 game. And yeah, that's a 3-score difference. But against that kind of a team with the expectations on your back for this year, that's a big performance for Oxford in week number 3. They followed that up with a couple of very different games, a struggle against Rochester Adams and a tough, gritty win by 1 touchdown last week at Lake Orion in that rivalry game, 41-34. Oxford's always that game, Matt, it seems on the schedule, where if you're not fully prepared, if you don't go in there with your foot pedal to the metal against the Wildcats, they will upset your team.
Yeah, and really, this is just a huge game for Oxford. You mentioned they're 0-2. They lost to Clarkston. They lost to Rochester Adams. But a win against the Lakers this week really shakes things up in the OAA Red and kind of gives them the opportunity to put themselves in the OAA Red title picture again if, they're able to get lucky and some teams lose some more games.
And that all sets you up well with the OAA Reds' strength of schedule, not only the Lakers individually, but all their opponents collectively. If you end up running the table on the rest of the season, Matt, maybe even if you unfortunately pick up a loss or 2, you're guaranteeing yourself at least one of those top 3 seeds in Division I come playoff time. And with a lot of bona fide juggernauts in Division One, like Cass Tech, like Catholic Central, who's always there. A team like Belleville that's been in and out of the mix over the years. A very different team in 2025, but not a team you want to see. And then even some of your own divisional opponents like Clarkston and Rochester Adams, who seem to always find a different gear come late October and early November. This is the time of the year where you start to have to not necessarily focus on playoff positioning, but it becomes one of those factors looming behind you, the monster in the closet as you walk into your bedroom.
Yeah, granted, the weather's a little nice right now, but they always say football season doesn't really start until the weather starts to cool off in October and we get to the fall. And that's where we're kind of at with the Lakers and the rest of the OAA Red. It's kind of gut check time to see where they stand amongst the state. And if the Lakers are able to, continue this momentum that they've had, and in Oxford's case, if they're able to, build something from here on out and get themselves into the playoffs.
Lakers are 5-0 on the season, a rarity for them. They had an undefeated season throughout the regular season way back in 2015. Not even when they won the state championship were they as prolific on the record side of things as they are right now, but big challenges ahead. Matt, as we look forward to this week against the Oxford Wildcats, what are you looking for in terms of those next steps forward for the Lakers, who seem to be taking at least a step forward every single week so far?
I want to see them improve in the red zone. Last week against Birmingham Groves, that kind of allowed Birmingham Groves to stay around in that game. Had they pulled off maybe one touchdown in the red zone, it would have been a 2-possession lead, 10-0 at halftime, and really wouldn't have given Birmingham Groves the opportunity to make that a close game.
Well, Matt, we got an exciting matchup coming for the community on Friday night. The West Bloomfield Lakers are visiting the Oxford Wildcats on the road. All eyes on Big Blue this Friday night. We'll have even more information on where you can watch the game and updates on the team all throughout the season on our Lakers sports page on civiccentertv.com. Matt, anything else for us before we let you go today?
Really just West Bloomfield has to maintain their control of the trenches, and I think that they can continue to be arguably a top 5 team in the state.
Well, we appreciate you joining us again today, and we'll see you back very soon on our live broadcasts of West Bloomfield Laker football. Matt, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for having me.